me think maybe it's good to have times of being creatively hungry, or creatively starved, I should say.
London is an amazing city for stories.
I'm Benjamin Chant. Join me as we uncover the hidden with London-based author Theodore Brun and intuitive artist Tabitha Powell.
We are here in the London Library, right in the heart of London, and there's a sense of history and all these great writers. This is where I come when I come away from home. There's all these kind of higgledy-piggledy little nooks and crannies, which I think is kind of how I like to do my work, is literally staring at a blank wall and it's just nothing but your imagination.
I mean, he could be earning millions and millions of pounds in the city, and he was a very good lawyer, but he gave it all up to write books, which doesn't really pay the bills.
When your dream becomes a nightmare and glitter and lights turn to dust.
I just was sort of haunted by this other sense of a direction I should be taking, but I just didn't know what it was.
And the gold that you reach for abandons its sparkle and rust.
This is my safe haven, this is my bolt hole, where I kind of literally breathe in story, breathe in writing and books, and then hopefully exhale it out on the page.
But everything you wanted and everyone you count on becomes a mirage, and you feel like a big chance missed you like a lightning that only strikes once.
You know, I'd probably be a partner in a major law firm by now. Probably wouldn't be living in a house with the tube running under it.
Hello. So Theo, you've written 3 immersive historical fiction novels set in the Viking Age. So would you say that you relate to the protagonist in A Mighty Dawn?
Yeah, very much so. And actually, the early portion of the book is this guy who's, you know, he falls in love with this girl, and it's for reasons I won't give away. It cannot be the kind of inhabiting of the character being a wanderer. These are the series of books that have now been published are called The Wanderer Chronicles. And I was a wanderer, and there is a part of me that always will be a wanderer.
But I think that the heart of the Wanderer series is the question of, you know, why am I here and what's my purpose? And an overbearing sense of being kind of called into destiny.
If you could come up with 3 adjectives that describe Theo.
Highly imaginative, incredibly industrious, otherworldly.
It's not about us. It's about this land. It's about the Wendling blood. My whole life I've been raised to succeed him as lord over our folk, he said bitterly. I am who I am because of him.
So we would love to hear a bit more about your history, your own personal story, as we talk through narrative and story in general.
I suppose I had a, you know, very privileged, in a way, very conventional path that I was treading, and particularly because I was the second son. And so I was always like following on. So when my brother actually went to Eton College, which is this well-known private school, so he went on to Cambridge University and I followed him there, and at that stage everything was all about rowing. I mean, it must have been a nightmare being my mother, because all we talked about when we went home was rowing.
So you talk about kind of following your brother in his footsteps through Eton and Cambridge and then into the professional world of big bucks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What does it take to break out of that gilded path almost? What did it take for you?
Yeah, it was very hard Got an offer in a one of the top firms in the world, Clifford Chance. And so whilst I was going through the stages of my legal training, I was also going on this massive sort of intellectual, spiritual, I wouldn't say emotional quest just yet, to like, what is the answer and what is the truth? A man running from his past will never be free of it. He tapped Erland's forehead with a bony finger. But for all you carry in here, remember this. Only when a man is truly lost is he ready for his destiny to find him.
So you left this life of kind of comfort and privilege in Hong Kong.
I think it was 12 years ago now, when I was living in Hong Kong, working as a lawyer.
And you embarked on this 10,000-mile journey across Asia, all the way back home to your parents' house where you wrote this novel.
It's the 13th of October, and it's the day that Theo is going to set off on his epic journey. See you on the other side of the world.
Oh, now, don't you down, don't look down, and straight ahead. The closer you get to it, harder it is. Just keep believing, and soon you'll be seeing the light.
But there was definitely instability in me, and I had, I suppose, daydreams, pipe dreams about becoming a writer, becoming an author. Then there was a kind of other daydream, which was, what if I just, actually put on a pair of hiking boots and walked back from Hong Kong back to England. Like, eventually I kind of downgraded to the bicycle, which took about a year to cycle home from Hong Kong back to England. But I loved it, that it made me feel alive, it made me come alive, and all of everything that has sort of unfolded in my life since then, I think I can attribute to that decision to get on a bicycle and just start pedaling.
Oh, now, don't you down, don't look down, and straight ahead. The closer you get to it, harder it is.
I did a big day, about 160 kilometers in one day. Was feeling very strong and thinking, woohoo, I'm getting super fit. And then about 2 days later, I could hardly walk on my left foot. And I realized long ago, if you miss one fight, there's usually another around the corner. Besides which, once you've figured where your duty lies and you stick to it, life becomes a lot simpler.
He has, as we all do, many sides to our character, but two sides in particular. One is that he has an element of pragmatism, as many artists have to actually operate in the real world and to make their art and their craft into something that turns into a living. So he has that side, and then the other side is much more dreamy, and it's much more about imagining a way into a universe and creating characters that feel absolutely real, like flesh and blood. And he has this amazing ability to move seamlessly between the two.
So just a couple of words of thanks, obviously, to Sarah, without whom this book would be considerably worse, I would say.
And longer, a lot longer.
Through becoming a writer, I think London came alive for me, and so that's why I based my life here, why my family's here, and I have a lovely marriage with my wife and my children, and we just want to be here because we love this city, and this is what we breathe in, the inspiration from this place.
You gotta fight for your life. Fight for your life. Fight for your life. Fight for your life.
So you've worked all over with Marvel on these film sets and costume design and fitting and all that kind of stuff. And then you've also worked in really detailed sculpture at the Madame Tussauds and now also at the Royal Opera House.
When I was working for Madame Tussauds, that was probably the most precise work I've ever had to do. People will come up to those figures and view them from millimetres away. This thing you're creating has to look exactly like this thing. There's no room for creative license. This dot here in the middle of your eye is called a caruncle. I once had to spend 5 hours reshaping a caruncle because I just couldn't get it exactly right. And that was so good for me to learn those skills and to learn that discipline. But I'm also a creative person, and so by doing that all day, every day, there was this sort of creative hunger brewing in me. I actually think maybe that's good to have times of being creatively hungry, and then I just had to go home and let loose, and I would just get the paints out and thrash it and colour and feeling and emotion. And then I thought it would be fun to put a geometric pattern over the top, and I called it chaos and control. And so the control was the geometric pattern, and the chaos was all the colour and the fun. And my life certainly was a dance between the two at the time, yeah. When people say what mediums to use, I say what mediums don't I use. You'd use engine oil, or I'd use cooking oil, or I'd use random like baby powder or something, you know, anything to create texture. And you need a big mess for that.
Why it came to my head, but I'm really... So do you remember when I was learning guitar?
Yeah.
And I was and I was in the Wimbledon house.
Yeah.
And do you remember which song I was playing to you in the living room? And you thought I was hitting on you.
It was the first time we hung out, and it was Flight Brigade. I can't remember which one it was.
It wasn't Flight Brigade. It was not Flight of the Conchords.
Oh, Flight of the Conchords. I think it was.
Yeah, Flight of the Conchords.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. And oh man, you know, it's really interesting because I always forget how long we've known each other for. I'm sorry. Memory and times in the past, my mind doesn't work that way, so I'm very sorry, but yeah, that was a good memory.
I just had this urge. It sounds funny, but I've heard other artists talk about this, how often when we see something beautiful, we long to be a part of it. When you see a sunset over the sea, you might long to jump into the water and just be in it. Or if you go to the theatre and there's a really good musical and you find yourself like wanting to sing along. And so often when we see beauty, we long to be a part of it. It's a kind of natural human longing. I wanted to call it microbial moments, just as tree roots, they go down and then they connect with other trees, and it's a point of connection between people. I love that story, but it was also a bit sad because you were, well, were you trying to hide your hair or something?
Yeah, it was a lot of things. So I think, you know, childhood and memory are always, I guess there's how you say, scenes missing, but so I loved my granddad, I loved the hat, but I also always didn't have time to do my hair in the morning, and I had an afro. So because I didn't have time, I would just basically throw my hat on, and that didn't obviously help my hair. And then, yeah, people would pull it off, and yeah, people are not very nice sometimes, but I still wore it.
So the idea is that I meet with someone and I interview them and I hear their life story. And then as they speak to me, I do a sketch of what they're describing, a sort of abstract sketch. I just really marinated in their life story. And I recorded the story and I'd listen to it over and over again and then paint quotes of what they've spoken, like layer upon layer. And then the next step is to paint them into their painting where they become one with the story that they told me.
It's a bit surreal, and it's validated me and my creativity. It kind of took me by surprise, really, because I kind of felt like Tabitha has imparted some of her creativity within me. Taking the time to stop and to listen and to hear somebody's story, it's like that full 100% attention. It's like we don't get that. I wanted to encourage people by my story for them to explore their own story and then kind of see what that is like. It's connection.
Now I know what my priorities are. I know that it's very satisfying to have come to this stage of I am a creative communicator, and if that doesn't fall in line with it, it's not where I need to be focusing my main amount of energy.
It's really refreshing to hear how much of a long-term vision you have in a world that's very snappy, very like social media, Instagram, let's do likes and comments and all that kind of stuff. How have you, as an artist, dealt with that culture?
Yeah, at times terribly. There's been times where I've been obsessed with getting likes, and I noticed as a result your work gets quicker because you're like, I just have to put something out today. I told myself I was going to post every day, and you end up producing work you don't even like. And actually I realised with the algorithm constantly changing, what they need from you now is all of your time. They need you to be liking loads of other people's posts. They need you to be commenting. I don't want to give... They're asking far too much for what I receive in return. So I just stopped all of that in the end. If you're constantly trying to look around every step of the way, what does this person think? What does this person think? You know, if you're literally just trying to walk in a straight line, but you're trying to look at all other angles at the same time, you're going to walk very slowly and your work's going to be so diluted and so bland because you're trying to please everyone. But if you cut them out and go for what you genuinely, one, want to do, and two, what you think you're called to do, it doesn't matter what the rest of the world think. You actually find yourself going a lot further. And that's when people take notice. They're like, oh, this is different. This isn't what I see every day. This is something new.
Here we go. Theo, historical Viking novelist, meets Tabitha, microbial moments inventor and sculpture extraordinaire, here for a wonderful crossover event.
Great.
Fantastic. And if I haven't your wisdom, still am no fool. Erland saw him bite back the pain. I swear to you by this blood that I will stand with you as brother, whichever road you walk, whatever your reasons.
Outside, everything was still. There was not a breath of wind, as if some vast and ancient spell had been cast over Danneborg and all its folk, turning everything to stone. That was great! I love it, it's so good!
So I don't know how that works.
No, I love it, I love it.
Theo's journey to find his voice and purpose is an encouragement for any artist wondering, Is there more to life than this? And Tabitha's genre-pushing blend of invention and heart has touched the deep places of my soul.